What's up, guys? You are on the air and off the books with Beth Ann and Samantha, and today we have a special guest, Amy Temple, security guard extraordinaire.
Hello.
Library bouncer, whatever.
Library bouncer.
The library CIA.
The book bouncer.
5-0, I'll take it.
Yeah. And today we are going to be doing part 2 of Never Have I Ever. You guys remember we did part 1 a few months ago. And so now we're going to continue our amazing Never Have I Ever questions written especially by Amy.
All right, we will dig right into it. Never have I ever been book shamed by someone.
Yeah. Beth Ann book shames me.
It's me. I do it.
Frequently.
Beth Ann is the book shamer
Book shaming queen.
extraordinaire.
Her book shaming skills are
It knows
second
no bounds.
to none.
It knows no bounds.
We love her anyway.
Even though I read trash.
She reads the Poltergeist, so if that tells you anything, then
I accept it. I can accept it if I dish it, though. It's fine.
At
You can shame me all
least
you want. It doesn't change the fact that the Poltergeist will change your life. Michael Lawrence, look it up.
all right, I'm reading
You're
this.
welcome.
I'm reading this right after this podcast.
You're welcome.
No idea what this is, but I will look into it.
She's like, okay.
I don't even know. I know nothing from the Poltergeist, but we'll go there.
Yeah.
Yes. Book shaming is unfortunately a real thing. My sister, for some crazy reason, loves to book shame me. I don't know if she just thinks that I should read more serious literature because I'm a smart person. I have no clue. But my theory is read what you love and love what you read. Don't let anybody make you feel badly for what you enjoy reading. That is your time.
Yeah. Don't let Beth Ann harass you.
Don't let Beth Ann make you feel bad for what you read because, just don't. Because
I do it in jest. Come on,
She
ladies
does,
and
she
gentlemen.
does.
I do it in jest.
But yeah,
Sure.
She's like, whatever, I'm offended.
Yeah, so
Bye.
be like Taylor Swift and tell the haters to shake it off. That's all I got.
Make like Taylor and shake it off.
That's all I got for you on that one. That is all I have. So yes, we're all about reading what you love.
I hate that I'm the book shamer and not the shame.
Well,
It's fine.
it's okay.
I have to reevaluate my life after this
We
episode.
adore you.
I guess I
anyway.
shamed you for Poltergeist.
We'll send
In retaliation.
This
Yeah.
episode will send Beth Ann into therapy. And it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Good thing we have an EAP here.
Yes.
Employee Assistance Program. Yes.
I need it.
Book Shamers Anonymous. If y'all have any suggestions for Beth Ann, please let us know what they are.
Oh, man.
How do we fix her?
That
How do we
don't
fix her?
yes. Any solutions that don't include doing her bodily injury because we don't like that.
We frown upon that around
Yes,
here.
this
in
is
the
an
establishment.
injury-free.
2/3 of us frown upon
This
that.
is a violence-free workplace.
Fun fact, statistics, 2/3 of life.
Violence-free workplace.
Oh
Here
man, that's
in
fantastic.
KJPL.
Oh.
Because then they might have to call security on you, and that would be me. Violence requires paperwork, guys. We don't like the
don't make us fill out
paperwork.
the paperwork.
No.
Come on, man.
Okay. So, never have I ever elaborately imagined a new ending for a book.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Every day, all day.
Anytime they kill off like my boyfriend in the book.
My boyfriend. She just.
Yes.
How rude of you. 1, how rude.
First of all, yeah.
2, how dare you. 3, how dare you part 2. So let's just rethink that ending and everybody lives happily ever after. Thank you,
Yes.
goodbye.
Most of the time, it always has to do with somebody dying, I feel like.
I feel
Yeah.
like that is a common, yes, I've definitely had books that I've read where I thought, how could they kill that person off? How could they, I've also reimagined new endings where for me the ending didn't fit the rest of the book. Like say, I've been on a complete like psychological thriller like angle, like that's all I'm reading for the most part. So
Samesies.
if the book has been a lot of high drama and twists and turns and dark, twisty, weird stuff, and then all of a sudden the ending just kind of falls flat, I'm like, really?
I hate that.
You did such a great job at keeping the book so keeping that suspense level, you know,
Yeah.
on a 1 to 10, you kept it at a 12 the whole book, and in the final ending, you just
Bomb out of the
died.
3. Yeah. I've had so many like that.
I just finished a book recently that I felt like had that. It was called The Stranger Within. Terrific book, psychological suspense. But the bad guy in it, I wanted him to pay at the end.
Yeah.
And the way the author worked it out, it just, I won't say too much because I don't want to spoil it. It's a terrific book. But the way the author worked it out, I just didn't
have a resolution.
Yeah, I mean, if you're all about happy endings, you love the ending.
Yeah.
But for this guy, I didn't really want to see a happy ending.
Justice.
I wanted to see something more concrete happen.
And there's some books that I read where they're supposed to be like scary horror, and like hardly anybody dies. I'm just like, okay, well, I needed more people to die, so let's go back.
No, we've never had that. More death, please.
She needed more.
Sign me up.
More blood and gore.
Yes.
Yes. So that's disappointing. So, so do you guys find that if you have a book that you read where you love the book but you hate the ending, then does that color the way you felt about the whole book?
Yes.
Or do you just chalk it up to I loved everything but the ending?
No, it ruins the whole book for me.
It ruins everything for me.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Like, because that's the finality of it. Like, that is the whole point of reading a book, is getting to the end, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
So when it comes to the end, and then I've invested all this time and energy into reading this book, and you tie it up and leave me with the mindset that I've wasted my time is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So forget you. I hate this book.
Yeah.
Like, you've wasted precious brain cells,
how dare you do that
time,
to me?
energy. Like, if you're not impacting me, if you're not giving me something, I'm very selfish when it comes to my book. You have to give me something.
Yeah.
Like, it is not me pitying you or doing this for you or because blah, 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 blah. I am a greedy reader.
Greedy book consumer. Yes.
I am a
Yes.
greedy reader, and it has to benefit me in some way. And if it does not,
I
then
gotcha.
I'm
Beth
just
Ann, the
yeeting you out
greedy
the window.
reader.
Greedy reader. Right here.
Mm-mm. That's all
I'm
right. Well,
mean.
she'll own it. That's okay.
She's mean.
I'm mean. I'm a book shamer and a greedy reader.
And a greedy reader. Wow.
Shame.
It's fine.
Oi.
I'll
Okay.
sort myself out.
We're just putting all of Beth Ann's
That's
faults
right.
on
And beat
First
up on
Street
Beth
tonight,
Ann Day. It's fine.
and we like it. Okay. Never have I ever owned more than 3 copies of the same book.
No, look at me!
Why'd you turn away?
Because I think I have 20 copies of The Hobbit.
I have never owned a double copy of anything because I think that is so
Oh my
weird.
God.
I don't
I
know.
was waiting for what you were going to say.
Waste of bookshelf space.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
space
What?
for another book.
The Hobbit. Okay,
enough.
listen to me.
How many? Okay, you have 20
No.
copies and they're all the same.
They are not. They're not the same. And here is why, okay? When Tolkien published The Hobbit, I don't think he, okay, there was a situation in which the publishers altered his books. Like, none of them are the same. And
20
they cannot
times?
trace. I got some in London when I was in London. In the thrift shops over there. I bought some brand new. Some are illustrated, okay? They're all different. They all have little discrepancies in them, and that is the beauty of the book. And I love that book. It is the best epic ever.
Go to Beth
I
Ann's
love-
bookshelf and you can read The Hobbit,
80
and that is
times.
all.
And I also like to do in my very favorites, like Fahrenheit 451. I have like a million copies of those because there was also discrepancies in some of those copies. So if you can find a certain publishing company.
But are they
in
that
another
big to where they're like life changing?
For Fahrenheit 451, it was because they censored him. And the whole book is about how you shouldn't censor your reading. And so he wrote back and he said, if you don't change this back, I'm pulling the book and you're not publishing it at all. Like, we're done. I'm done
Wow.
with you completely. So if you can find those certain like copies in thrift stores or the publishing companies, I mean, those are awesome finds because it's just such an, ironic oxymoron, whatever label you want to put on it. So I have 80 million of those books because I read that 50 million times. I have probably like 10 copies of that. And that's one of my favorite books of all time too. Like, just, I accumulate things that I love. I'm an accumulator of things. You know, you can't not have a hardback and.
Right.
You sound like my husband.
Well, and
why do you need 5 of these? Shh.
Well, I might pick up extra copies if I find like a book that I know I will recommend to people.
Yes.
A book that I love that I know I will
also
recommend.
love doing that.
If I'm at Goodwill or I'm at a thrift shop or whatever, I might pick up extra copies of those books because I know if I come to Samantha and say, hey, you've got to read this book, here's a copy.
Yes.
You know, that way I'm not worried about, it's not my only copy.
Then I will never give it back.
It's not my, you know. And also, one thing, there are some series out there, like the Harry Potter series, this is a big one for them, that there are different, I mean, it's not that the reading material is different, but the cover versions are different. Cover art is different.
That's the only reason I would buy another copy is for the cover art.
So I think that it's cool sometimes to have the different versions and different, you know, because you can buy a box set, you can buy, you know, there's all these different possibilities, especially with Harry Potter where you can buy the Gryffindor version, the Ravenclaw version, the Slytherin version, the Hufflepuff version of the different books that have those colors, all that stuff. You can have all those. You know, another book, obviously, which, you know, we don't talk about a lot here, the Bible. I have many different varieties of the Bible, different translations, different, you know, different things like that. That's definitely a book that I like to have the different. So you know, there are lots of reasons to own more than one copies of more than one copy of a book. So,
Samantha.
None of which that I will partake in.
So don't let anybody again.
Don't go to Samantha. She won't let you borrow a book.
Don't let anybody.
Those are
That's
her
right.
copies. But she also likes the hardback copies. Ugh.
Yes.
I hate hardback.
Hardbacks are my life.
No, I take a paperback any day.
Yeah. I like the trade paperbacks.
Yeah.
That medium size.
I like any paperback. I like my preferred paperback is a nice floppy rollable paperback.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Like the like the size.
Do
of
you
a hardback.
Roll your book when you read it?
I roll it behind.
Oh yeah, that's all right.
Oh, excuse me. Now I'm getting shamed.
You know,
books are meant to be loved when they're read, not pristine.
True enough.
Love means taking care of them.
Love also means weathering the times, weathering emotions.
Would you bend your child in half?
Tear drips, scratches, dents, the progression of life.
I mean,
Same difference.
It's all good.
She cray.
It's fine.
We'll go with it. Never have I ever had someone hate a book I recommended to them.
Yes, I have had a lot of people hate things I've recommended.
You hated Lock Every Door. I guess I recommended that to you, but it was kind of for the podcast. So
I feel like I have had people hate them, but I'm not sure that anybody's come back to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you told me to read this book and it was the worst 6 hours of my life. Like that's time I'll never get back." I'm not sure anybody has really gone there with me so much, but
I've had a few people tell me that they just.
It was
not that they explicitly hated it, but they came up to me like, yeah, you know that book that you recommend? I didn't really like it, so I just didn't finish it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I can't believe you really didn't like it. What didn't you like about it? And I don't know. I have weird reading tastes. Maybe that's it.
But it always spawns interesting conversation. That's what I like because it you know.
Yeah, a good example would be a horror Christian novel that I recommended to one of our youth group's moms. I'll never do that again. And she was like, I want to know what my daughter is reading, and like, is this a good book? And I was like, yeah, you guys should read this book. It was House by Frank Peretti, and Ted Decker co-authored it, and that's how I fell into their like trap, and I have all of their books. And so I got them a copy of it, and obviously the young girl loved it because she liked reading what I read, but I told the mom that she would love it too, and she literally slept with the lights on for a month. After I recommended it to her, she goes, I'm never reading anything you recommend me ever again. I was like, I am so sorry. Like, I did not mean for you to be scarred for the rest of your life. She was so upset. Like, she was so upset. I was like, I am so sorry. I thought you would like it. But she was a little more fluffy than I am. This had a lot of scary in it.
Sure.
So it's fine. It's fine. Just be careful with your youth members, parents, and what you
Yes.
recommend.
Age appropriate and content appropriate.
Yes.
Just know your audience. That's all I'm saying.
Know your audience, exactly. That's true
Lesson
in life
learned.
about a lot of things.
Yeah,
know
lesson
your audience.
learned.
Know your audience. Never have I ever read a book that greatly changed my thinking about an issue or a topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Why are you shaking your head no?
I don't think I really have.
Really? Nothing is like
Unless you count,
influenced, like-
unless you count like my like, you know.
Are you talking about like a serious issue? You're like a serious topic? Just
It
any
can be
topic?
whatever. I mean, it can be whatever. I mean, it doesn't,
There you go.
I mean, there was a book that I had in mind when I wrote that question.
I feel like I can't say what I'm thinking. I can't say it.
Say it.
No,
Now you
no,
said
no,
it.
no.
Everybody's gonna know. Peer pressure. Peer pressure.
Well, y'all know me and my
Oh Lord,
my Stockholm
here we go.
syndrome.
So you found something deep and dark about yourself.
Yes.
Okay, that counts.
And that is all I will say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Just enough to make us
What
go.
about you? What's yours?
Actually, the book The Whisper Network
Have you
by
heard about that one?
Chandler Baker, I believe is her last name, made me think a lot about the Me Too movement and sexual harassment in the workplace. I don't know that I won't say maybe it didn't change my thinking because, I mean, obviously we all feel like that's a bad thing and we don't, people should feel safe in their workplace
Right,
and,
yeah.
but it made me really take a stronger look at what could be construed as sexual harassment, what could be
Just kind of gave you a rounded.
how were women approached, also how were women judged by other women even.
Yeah, that's an
Because in
interesting
that
topic.
particular book you had one character who didn't kind of look at it in the same way.
Yeah.
She still felt like maybe that was part of the paying dues as a woman in a workplace. This was a corporate workplace where there were a lot of men. And so the one character really felt like, well, these are just the dues that you pay.
Wow.
And this is just what you have to expect. And this is what you, this is what
That
it
was
is.
just her frame of mind. Yeah.
So it really gave me, I think, maybe a more broad perspective of what could be considered sexual harassment, what could be considered, just what things to look out for, and how to, as a woman, be supportive of other women
Yeah.
that I work with.
Which is super lacking because there's a lot of people, I'm not going to say any names or anything, of course, but like I feel like I know a lot of girls, especially on social media, that preach about like supporting other women, but they're like me from high school, knowing them, they were the rudest of the rude. Like they would talk about people.
Perpetuate the behavior.
Yeah, they were
Absolutely.
horrible. And I'm just like,
Yes.
I think the beauty of reading gives you all of the different point of views, even if they're not the greatest point of views.
Yes.
mhm.
And how, I don't even know if the book I was reading, it was the book I was telling you about how I stopped reading it because I didn't like sympathizing with the bad guy, remember?
Right. I don't
And he
know.
was a predator, let me just say it like that.
Mhm.
And he desperately didn't want to be who he was because of how do I say this? He wanted to get rid of his problems that he felt like he had in his life. And so he went to this door in the woods and you slipped under the door what you wanted rid of in your life and it magically disappeared. But then somebody opened the door and unleashed horrors on everybody, et cetera, et cetera. And he ends up sacrificing himself because he can't get rid of his urge as this person and became the hero in the book. And I stopped reading it because it made me so sympathetic to his plight. And I was, in my own personal standing, put all of those other things aside, have very strong feelings about things like this. Whatever.
Sure.
We'll just leave it as PG as that. But the point of view was there. She went there as an author
Mhm.
and used that point of view to say something about, and I feel like no matter what you read, even if it's Captain Underpants,
Yeah.
there are things you can get from those point of views, and that
Absolutely.
if you look hard enough, you can find something anywhere.
Mhm.
You really can.
I feel like another book that will challenge maybe how you look at some things as well, and this kind of might maybe not tie into what you're talking about, is the book The Shack. We've talked about that before.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that.
Because, the book kind of called to question that before you judge someone who maybe has done a horrible thing to someone
Right.
and caused great pain and suffering to a family,
Mm-hmm.
that makes you have to look at what has that person suffered in their personal life, what created,
Yeah.
And with a lot of the psychological thrillers that I read, obviously there are a lot of characters with a lot of really twisted psyches,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing that they usually have in common is the author will bring in what made
Past
them,
trauma.
what kind of trauma, what kind of issues, what kind of childhood, what kind of background, what did they witness, what did their parents put them through,
Yeah.
how is that circle, that violent cycle, how has that been perpetuated in their lives? So I think that even though in the end, I still want to see people have consequences for their behavior,
We can't negate
I'm
the fact
also
that they're
interested
also
in understanding what has molded them into who they
the
are.
human being that they are.
What has made them, what's made that person. I want to know what makes somebody tick.
Yeah.
What things have gone on in
The
someone's
reason
life
behind
that
that show.
that gave them a certain point of view or a certain, and that's what I love about reading is that you can learn some of those different points of view and perspectives. And
normally you wouldn't.
even if you come out at the end still feeling pretty much the same way that you felt, I think it's always interesting and empowering, and it's good for our brains to be challenged,
Mhm.
and it's good for our sense of empathy and sympathy
Yes.
to be able to understand people a little better, just like the experiences we've had in life. I've been homeless. I've been a victim. I've been a sufferer of addiction. The things that I've experienced in my life have changed who I am. So I have that desire to know in other people
Right.
what's made you into the person that you are. What can we dig deep? Can we find out what those things are? Because I think those things are so interesting to learn, and that's why I enjoy people that I can be transparent with and who can be transparent with me, because I like understanding, even if at the end of the day we may disagree on 99 things out of 100, I want to know how they came to feel that way.
Yeah.
I want to know what their experience is and what made them feel that way. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about reading is that it just expands everything that you, gives you reason to question your beliefs and question what you believe what you feel like and what you might think and perceive. So, it's just one more thing.
So the moral of that TED Talk is...
Yes, sorry. It did turn into a little bit
the
of TED
fact
Talk.
that
Sorry.
this is the moral of the story, that you have to take on another perspective, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's still good for you. Still good for you.
It's good for you.
Broadens the mind.
Broadens the horizon.
Absolutely. Better the mind broadened than the waistline. That's what I'm going to say.
Amen.
We won't talk about that.
Oh,
So, after that, never have I ever read a banned book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
Tons
did in
of banned
school.
books.
I'm
Yeah.
sure I have.
Captain Underpants is
Absolutely.
banned.
Absolutely.
Everything's banned.
Fahrenheit 451 is banned. What else is banned?
To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird. I love that book. It's banned. Yes, I only own one copy. Don't come at me, bro.
Catcher in the Rye probably was banned
Yeah,
at
I
some
hated
point.
that book.
I mean,
Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah, Where the Red Fern Grows, I think, is banned.
A lot of things.
Bridge to Terabithia is banned.
Yes.
Lots of things
Such
going
a
on.
good book and a good movie.
Oh my gosh, so we did a White Elephant gift exchange for the youth group once, and my cousin I got that book and then I put it in a box of tissues,
Mhm.
and he opened it up at the exchange and he was like, why do I have to have a box of tissues with this? I don't understand. He called me on the phone sobbing his eyeballs out. He was like, I understand the tissues. I get it now. And I was like, I am so sorry.
It is so
Don't
sad.
get a book recommendation for me. You're going to cry or be scared. It's fine. Whatever.
One of two things is going to happen.
Same.
Yeah, I think there again, it's, as a thinking person, we have the ability to, it's one thing you're watching what your children read. That's one thing people, I can speak about parenting with no experience whatsoever since I have no children. But I will say, yes, as a parent or as a person that has, maybe not as a parent, but as a person who has little ones in my life that I love, yes, I understand that people who are in charge of these little people need to watch what they read and need to be aware.
Conscientious.
Be conscientious about that. But yeah, as far as, we have a very different society now than we had even 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So there have been lots of changes. We won't debate for good, for bad, or for ugly what those changes have been, because we could talk forever about that and nothing would ever get solved. But it's always interesting to understand maybe what the thought process was with why a book got banned in the first place.
Yeah.
Why was it judged
That's
in that way?
Hairy thing. It's very interesting. My thing I always say is I ban yours, you can ban mine. And I know that's the most selfish comment in the whole wide world, but don't touch my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I won't touch yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get to read whatever you want as long as I can keep whatever I want to read.
Yeah.
So, that's my thing, is like, don't cross these lines and start throwing mess out the window my thing is don't expect to, stride all over somebody if you don't want to be trodden on.
Yeah.
Precisely.
That's my thing. So read what you want, just respect the rest of it. Boom.
Respect.
Mic drop. See you later.
Peace out, Girl
Yeet
Scout.
out the window. Bye. Done.
All right.
Serious issues today.
Serious today.
topics of
What are we doing
conversation.
here?
Deep talks.
Passionate moments we're having here, ladies and
Absolutely. We
gentlemen.
like it. We like it. We like it. Never have I ever taken a class or course where reading was the only homework.
I have, actually.
Yes, in college.
I have.
That reading was literally the only homework. Well, except for
Well, I had to write
papers and
papers.
things like that. But that is part of the course. But like children's lit
Mm-hmm.
or oh gosh.
When I was a senior in high school, we had, if you were in honors English, there were 4 different 9 weeks. So each of the 4 9 weeks, you studied a separate, like a micro subject, like a smaller subject.
Oh yeah.
That's what
One
we
of
did.
those was modern lit,
Mhm.
and that was literally the only homework was reading whatever the book was that we were reading, and then we would talk about it in class.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really fun because it just gave you the chance to
Speak. Have your
speak
opinion.
and
Yeah.
read and be
So
able to
important.
hear what other people thought. And I read so many books in that class that I'm not sure I would have ever had the opportunity to read
Yeah.
otherwise. So I thought that was really wonderful, even though I'm not a huge fan necessarily of the classics, but I read a lot of books that I probably would not have read otherwise. And I think that was really important to just give me an idea of what was out there and what was, what was considered for its time to be, to be great, modern literature, and to, to understand these things and really get a sense of good writing, and why are the masters of writing the masters? Why do we look at them so seriously as the grand poobahs
That they are.
of writing? So
Round table is probably the most important
Absolutely.
aspect of learning any
Absolutely.
kind of literature
Mhm.
at all, I think.
I think it's great. Never have I ever owned every book published by a certain author.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I own
Sarah
Absolutely.
Desson.
Sarah Desson.
I absolutely have.
Sarah Desson and Natasha Preston.
Yep, I
Yeah.
own all of Rita Sepetty's, Ted Dekker, Frank Peretti's, and a couple other nonfiction writers.
J.D. Robb. I own every J.D. Robb book, and that's 51 in the series so far.
That's a lot of books.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
That's
think
all
if it's an author that I really love and I am a rereader,
Yeah.
So I enjoy going back. I know a lot of people don't, and that's fine. If you don't want to
can't
do
do
that,
it.
that's fine.
Really?
But if I really love a book or a series, I want to go back and revisit those characters and
I just want to go on that journey with you again.
rethink
Like, I
what
want
it
to
was.
be there with you again. It's like visiting an old friend.
I've done that, like, if I haven't read it in a long time, like 5 or more years, then I'll go back and reread it.
Really?
Yeah. I
Oh,
do want to
man.
buy the box set of the Naturals series, though.
Yeah, I
I'd
gotta
love
add it
to
to
have
my
that one.
collection.
Yeah, that's what I want to have.
Yes.
So I think it's fun when it's an author that you love and you know you're gonna love.
Yes.
I think it's fun
Or
too.
like getting the narrated audio versions of it. Like I found a cassette tape set of the NPR of when they did The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
Oh man, so good. I listened to it over and over again in college. It was amazing. It was always in my car.
When
Hopefully you know what a cassette is.
when the Left Behind books came out, Jerry
Oh,
Jenkins
yeah.
and Tim LaHaye,
I've had a few of those cassettes.
they had a full audio, like it was almost like imagine like an old time radio show.
Yeah,
Like
the NPR.
All different. It was full on different cast members, different and that's one of the things that I love when I read audiobooks. When I listen to audiobooks now, is when they have the different narrators like that will read, especially if it's a man and a woman's perspective. If the
Makes all the
perspective
difference.
change. If there's a perspective change in the book, it's so cool to kind of get that different, it's a little more drama added to the,
Oh, it's like listening to a play.
added to the whole experience of doing audio. So I think it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have that. So those are definitely some things to consider if you want to broaden your library,
Right.
so to speak. And I love looking at a bookshelf. I love looking at my bookshelves at home and just going, oh, it's so beautiful, and it has, it's all the books are placed and they're together and they're whatever it is. I just those are moments that as a book lover I just really enjoy, and seeing that bookshelf full is just like.
Are you guys particular about your bookshelves then?
I just like it to look nice. Like, I don't want books, like, falling out and, like, on there, like, backwards and...
Yeah.
My bookshelf's a mess.
I'm not so picky necessarily, but I do like it to look nice. I might need revamped right now at home, but
I'd have to show you my bookshelf that I had when we moved into our first house, when Nolan built me that little library.
Mm-hmm.
It was like...
Pristine.
Yeah, and it was like they were stacked different ways. Some were like angled, and some were stacked, and some were like stacked this way.
You're so perfect. And mine are just thrown on the shelf.
thrown together.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of together how they're supposed to be with like their authors and their series and stuff like that. I'm not that kind of a heathen, but I am. Yes, a heathen. It's fine.
All right.
It's okay.
Yeah, we'll go with it. So here's a little bit different, a different question. Never have I ever given a speech or a talk about a book-related subject.
on the podcast.
Obviously, we do that here.
Yes, I have.
We do that here. I took a speech class in college, and we had to give a demonstration speech. And that demonstration speech, I demonstrated how the steps I take and how I choose to read a book for pleasure, like going to the library, like looking at the, going along. Is it an author that I love? Does the cover art appeal to me? What does the blurb on the inside tell me? Maybe to a lesser degree for me, but maybe this might be something for others. What do the book reviews say? That sort of thing. So that was kind of an interesting talk to give, because it made me really have to sit down and think about, okay, what are the steps that I take? What do I do with that? And I'm sure in school we all gave book reports and things like that.
Lord,
so that's
my senior speech, I was one out of two people that got an A, and it was about like shows like the Kardashians and like cosmetic surgery's impact on teenagers. That's what my speech was about. Okay, but it was going to be about sharks, shark attacks. And then I was like,
It literally is. I feel like that's.
it was
yes.
basically about body positivity.
Bravo.
So
Bravo. Go you.
I was just a little spokesperson that day.
Well, I'm telling you. We
Oh,
all
the
have to.
Kardashians.
Yeah. No hate,
Okay,
no
what's
hate.
the next one?
Hey.
I gotta get.
Sorry, Kim.
Here. Sorry, Kim. Since you're listening.
Yeah.
Since we know you tune into this podcast.
Since this is your favorite.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Right up there. Never have I ever been a part of an online book or reading related community.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I have some Facebook
really?
pages that I follow.
Oh, I guess I'm on Goodreads.
For the love of reading.
I
There's
follow a
one
lot of booktubers.
There's one called For the Love of Reading. There's another that's called the Bookaholics Cafe. I love that one. That one's a really good one on Facebook. I have one site that I go to on Facebook that is all about sharing spoilers. Or if you want to talk about spoilers with people, like you finished the book, but you want to talk to other people who finished it so that you can say, hey, oh my gosh, what did you think about the end
This
where
such and such thing.
where this happened?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think those things are really fun. I think
We're taking a part of one right now.
I think those things are really interesting to for all of the ways that social media can suck us in and not necessarily maybe be the greatest thing in the world. I think there are a lot of ways
Fair.
that it's pretty cool, and
Yes.
getting to reach out and discuss books that we love and things that we get other recommendations. I can't tell you how many posts I see. Okay, I loved this particular book. Give me some other ideas about books that I would love, and it's always fun to add to your to be read list through some of those
Yes.
recommendations.
If you don't know about any of this or where to go to get any of this or be part of that community, come to the library. Ta-da!
Yes.
Here we are!
And most of us who work here will be more than
Ta-da!
happy to talk your ear off
About
any day
books. We'll
about
book talk
books.
you to death.
We
Yes.
will make you wish you had not come in.
We'll give you a
Yes.
list of like 30 books that you have to check out today.
Right
Today.
now.
We will
I will
send
overwhelm
you.
you.
We will
It's fine.
help you. We will get a cart to help you push them to your car even.
Yes.
If you call me,
This is a full service library.
Call
people.
Beth Ann on her personal cell phone.
I
We will
will
help.
book talk you. I will
We
get you
will
what you
Book
need.
talk you like nobody's business.
Yes.
We will do it. We would love to do that. Yeah. Never have I ever gone back to reread a favorite from my childhood.
No.
Yes.
I do it all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Nancy
all the
Drew.
time. See, you reread.
I need to reread Camp Confidential.
You do.
What am I thinking? What am I doing with my
I
life?
don't know.
What do you think is the what book from your childhood do you think you've gone back and reread the most?
Captain.
I can tell you what.
I'm not
I can tell you what
lying.
mine is.
We just got done talking about that. The Poultry Goose and Captain Underpants and The Hobbit.
Little Women is mine. That's the one I've gone back to.
Yours
probably
is so
the
bougie
most.
of a choice, and
I'm sorry.
I am
Little
so. It makes me want your goals, like
Well, I
on
mean,
that emotional
How to
level.
Become Bougie, featuring Amy.
Amy.
yeah. I've been accused of a lot of things in life. Being bougie, never one of them. So that's
Check it off your list,
I'll
girlfriend.
check it off my list.
2021. Kicking butt, taking
the
names.
year of marking things off the list. No, I mean, I just think that's a book that spoke to me on
It is
so
timeless.
many levels. It's very timeless.
$1,000,000% timeless.
It's the characters are these are young women that I think we can all identify with in one way or
Yeah, I was about to
another.
say, there's nothing
Um,
left unturned there.
You know, with me loving to read and write as much as I do, I think Jo March,
Yeah.
definitely a character that I can identify with and that I can understand what moved her to that need to get things down on paper, that need to put pen to paper and
Yeah.
say these are the
But
things that
you
I'm
right, so that's a big
yeah, these are the things that
connector.
that are impacting my life right now. These are the things that I need to get said.
I've reread that book, but that's not the book I've reread the most.
Yeah.
And I read that in my older years,
Mhm.
but like I said,
Captain Underpants?
Like I said in the last podcast, I used to pack them up in the car and we'd go on our trips to Mississippi and I would read them there and back over and over again, and they were literally my whole life. And the Poltergeist, I'm telling you right now.
Poltergeist, pick it up.
And then the Hobbit, like jump from all the silly to the Hobbit.
Yes.
That is one of my favorites.
I think one of the great things about rereading, especially if it's something from when you were a kid, is that you're in a different place in your life at the different times that you've read this. So
See, that's a
you
good
have
one.
a different mindset, and you have maybe things will speak to you in a different way. Like obviously as a kid, the character of Marmee probably would not have spoken to me as much as it did as an adult because of a different mindset about life, and there's a different supposedly there's a different amount of wisdom that comes to you. Never really been accused of having a lot of wisdom in life.
To be determined.
To be determined on that.
Like me going back and rereading Charlotte's Web was really like jarring to me because I didn't enjoy it as much as an adult as I did as a child.
I've had some of those. Or like I'll rewatch like a childhood like TV show and it's just not as like amazing
Or it's
as I thought it
Yeah.
was when I binge watched it in like a day.
Yeah.
Kind of like revisiting some place that you visited as a kid, and you go, I thought this place seemed bigger when I was here when I was a kid.
Yeah.
No, it's not the place got bigger, you got bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
So your perspective is different. Your perspective is bigger.
The lenses
Yeah.
you have on your eyes.
So lesson learned from that, I guess, don't be afraid to go back and reread something that you, also I think it's great that to reread with a new generation,
Yeah.
to get to see another generation's experience with that same, my niece with her little kids, one of the first things she bought when she was pregnant for her first son was bought the whole Harry Potter set in readiness for being able to share these with him when he got to the age where he could enjoy them. And getting to see a whole new generation of people impacted by by reading, and that was such a popular series for bringing a whole new group of kids into reading that was never experienced. It was really
I will admit that.
an incredible opportunity for love it or hate it. It did a lot for bringing kids into the back into having their nose stuck in a book.
I think we have time for one more question.
All right.
Make it a good one.
Make it a good
A
one.
good one.
This is probably an obvious one for anybody in this room, but
Do you
guys
like books?
can
Yes
think
or no?
about this one. Never have I ever had the maximum allowed quantity of books checked out at a library.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I used to have this suitcase,
Yeah.
and that's where I put all my books. And when we were moving, Nolan would make fun of me because I would just put all my library books in the suitcase and roll them to the new house.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. It reminds me of like when this library, when the children's part was up here,
Mm-hmm.
and every year my aunt, through the summer, because used to in the summertime, you'd come up to the children's desk up here and you get your little paper, and then she would stamp
Mm-hmm.
every single book that you read that you returned back, and she would go through and count them and give you all the stamps, and you would get prizes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I read through the Babysitters Club, because I would always get those prizes.
I
And
remember.
every day that I would come in here, I would check out the max amount of books that I could get
Yep.
and cart them home. And then
But it
bring them
didn't
back
used
a
to
couple
be
days later.
50.
No, I think it
I
was
think it was
30.
like 20 or 30
Yeah.
because I would get a lot, but I wouldn't get 50.
No, it's changed since then. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Well,
every week.
Right.
Oh
When
my
I first
gosh.
moved to Kokomo and I lived in temporary housing,
Mhm.
you could only have 5 books checked out. So
Mm.
that was like, ooh,
Yeah.
5 books. Oh my word! How can I do that? How can I limit my choices to 5? So yeah, that's I'm one of those people that has an irrational fear of running out of something to read.
Yeah.
So I have to always make sure I
Man, I don't have that.
have plenty of reading
I'm so
material. I mean, it's not something I have to worry about anymore, but I mean, I will always have a book with me. I will always, of course, working in a library, we're surrounded by, so we can go and check another book out and read it on our breaks or do whatever we want to do. So that's a fun thing.
Absolutely.
So please come in, check books out.
Yes.
Engage us.
Engage us.
Talk to us about your
to us
books.
Yeah.
about
Don't be
what
afraid.
you love.
We don't bite.
We will always be willing to give you good recommendations and
Yes.
tell you what
Yes.
you need to read.
Yes, and thank
Keep your
you
mind
for
flowing.
joining us because
Coming
you
back. Yeah.
are the greatest of all time, the greatest security guard of all time, Amy Temple.
I strive.
In the
You know.
flesh.
Yes. And I think that are we still going to have a part 3?
I think we probably can, yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it.
We are going to have a part 3 in a few months. So you guys have to stay listening so you can join us on part 3 of Never Have I Ever. And we hope you guys have a great day.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.